Be asking yourselves, well, if there's no CBA agreement, why would the owners even send them contracts? Why would the team send these players contracts? They're not going to accept it. There's no CBA agreement. Well, once you start showing them money, they're more likely to say, BS, money talks, BS walks. Once you start showing them contracts that they could possibly be getting, if there is a money.
Money doesn't whisper anymore in the WNBA. It's shouting, it's cornering players, and it's rewriting the rules of negotiation in real time. Because what we're watching right now is not a labor dispute, it's a calculated financial siege. And the league knows exactly what it's doing even if it refuses to say it out loud. This is no longer about collective bargaining in good faith, no longer about shared principles or long-term justice. This is about one thing only, breaking unity by forcing players to confront their own bank accounts in isolation. When actual contracts start landing in inboxes, when agents start sliding real numbers across kitchen tables, solidarity stops being an abstract idea and becomes a personal sacrifice. The moment a player sees an offer, $300,000, $400,000, a max deal under the current structure, the math starts working against the union. Because agents aren't just showing salaries, they're translating those figures into hypothetical futures under the owner's proposal, whispering, this isn't what it looks like. This is triple that. This is life-changing money. And once that seed is planted, the battle is already half over. The brilliance, and yes, depending on your perspective, the brutality, of this strategy is that it doesn't require threats, lockouts, or public ultimatums. It weaponizes temptation. It turns every player into a private negotiator fighting a personal war between belief and survival. The league didn't accidentally tell general managers to proceed with free agency planning. That wasn't procedural housekeeping, it was a pressure valve designed to leak unity drop by drop. Every offer sent is a psychological test. Every phone call from an agent is another crack in the wall. Because once one player starts thinking, I could be losing 7 figures by standing strong, the conversation shifts instantly from we to me. And unions don't collapse in dramatic explosions, they collapse quietly, one rational decision at a time. The league understands that most players don't have endorsement safety nets, don't have shoe deals insulating them from uncertainty, don't have the luxury of symbolic resistance. They understand that careers are short, primes are fragile, and financial security isn't ideological, it's urgent. This is why the timing matters. This is why offers are being shown before a new CBA is signed. It forces players to imagine what they're turning down before the future is guaranteed. It reframes patience as risk. And once fear enters the equation, leverage shifts. The owners aren't arguing with the union anymore, they're bypassing it. They're speaking directly to the part of the player that worries about rent, family, injuries, and irrelevance. That's why this isn't about whether the offers get signed immediately. It's about what happens the moment they exist. Because the second a player sees how the league values her, max, mid-level, minimum, she internalizes that label. And once value is internalized, bargaining power fractures. That's the real play here. Not intimidation. Not deadlines. But reality. Cold, numerical, undeniable reality. And it's ruthless precisely because it works. And if the financial squeeze wasn't enough, the league is stacking pressure from every possible angle, because money is only one lever, time, visibility, and opportunity are the others, and all three are now being pulled simultaneously. The absence of a finalized CBA isn't just a paperwork problem, it's a scheduling nightmare waiting to explode, and arena operators don't care about labor politics, they care about filled seats and guaranteed revenue. If there's no confirmed season, there's no reason to protect dates, and if dates aren't protected, they will be sold to concerts, tours, and events that don't come with uncertainty attached. That's not speculation, that's business reality. And the longer negotiations stall, the more plausible it becomes that a season doesn't just start late, it becomes impossible to organize cleanly. The league sees this coming. Owners see this coming. And they know exactly how that risk gets framed when the blame game begins. Suddenly, it's not ownership protecting margins, it's players costing everyone a season. Public opinion becomes another battlefield, and history tells us fans rarely side with labor once games disappear. Meanwhile, free agency without a new CBA does something else that's far more subtle but equally powerful. It reveals hierarchy. Players find out, in real time, how they're viewed across the league. Max target. Rotation piece. Replaceable depth. That information sticks. And once it sticks, it changes behavior. But here's where the strategy gets even sharper. Not all contracts are equal anymore, not because of salary, but because of exposure. A mid-level deal on the right team is worth more than a max contract in the wrong market, and no team embodies that reality more than Indiana. The Caitlin Clark effect has turned proximity into profit. Playing alongside her isn't just basketball, it's branding, visibility, endorsement acceleration, social media growth, and long-term leverage. That's why players don't just evaluate offers anymore, they evaluate ecosystems. Being near the gravitational center of the league multiplies income far beyond the contract line. And ownership knows this. They know opportunity is the new currency. They know that some players will choose strategic proximity over ideological purity. And that's not betrayal, it's survival logic in a system that rewards visibility more than loyalty. This is where the union faces its hardest test, because solidarity only works when sacrifice is evenly distributed, and right now it isn't. Stars can wait. Role players can't. Veterans with families can't. Players nearing the end of their prime can't. And the league is betting, quietly, confidently, that enough individuals will choose certainty over principle to force a compromise that favors management. That's not villainy. That's leverage applied with precision. The end game is clear. If enough players defect silently, the union loses its negotiating spine without ever announcing defeat. And once that happens, the narrative flips completely. Owners will say they offered historic raises. They'll say they modernized benefits. They'll say they tried. And the players who held out will be painted as unrealistic, ungrateful, or reckless. This is how power reasserts itself, not through dominance, but through inevitability. So the real question isn't what the league will do next. We already know. The real question is whether players with leverage will use it for those without it. Because if the stars hold the line, the system bends. If they don't, it breaks in ownership's favor. And that's the uncomfortable truth at the heart of this entire fight. Money doesn't just talk, it isolates, it persuades, and it waits patiently for unity to collapse under the weight of individual reality. Here's the part nobody wants to say out loud, because once it's said, you can't unsee it. The moment even a handful of players sign, the fight is already over, not officially, not legally, but psychologically. Labor battles aren't decided by press releases or Twitter statements, they're decided the instant resistance stops feeling universal. The league doesn't need every player to fold. It doesn't even need most of them. It needs just enough movement to make holding out feel foolish instead of noble. Once that happens, solidarity doesn't collapse, it evaporates. Players stop asking, what's best for us, and start asking, what if I'm the last one left without a deal? And that fear spreads faster than any union memo ever could. This is the silent countdown the owners are banking on. Not a lockout. Not a showdown. A slow erosion of resolve driven by peer pressure, uncertainty, and opportunity cost. Because every day a player waits is a day another player gains leverage by acting. And here's the brutal truth. The league is structured in a way that rewards early movers and punishes patience. Roster spots are finite. Budgets shrink fast. Teams don't wait forever. So the longer negotiations drag, the more the balance tilts toward action over principle. This is why the league doesn't need to threaten cancellation, it just needs to let doubt do the work. Because doubt turns strength into hesitation, hesitation into regret, and regret into compliance. And once the first domino falls, the narrative flips overnight. Holdouts become outliers. Commitment becomes stubbornness. And suddenly, the same fans who praised unity start asking why players are risking everything. That's the trap. That's the end game. And by the time most players realize it, the leverage they thought they had will already belong to. And this is where the fight stops being decided in boardrooms and starts being decided in headlines, because once negotiations stall long enough, perception becomes more powerful than leverage. The league doesn't need fans to understand the details of revenue sharing or cap mechanics. It just needs them to feel frustrated, confused, and tired. That's when messaging wins. Carefully timed leaks about historic salary increases, selective emphasis on triple max contracts, and constant reminders that owners are trying to move forward all serve one purpose: to reposition management as reasonable and players as obstructive. It's subtle, but relentless. The longer silence stretches, the easier it becomes to frame the union not as fighters for fairness, but as gatekeepers blocking progress. And fans, especially casual ones, don't side with complexity, they side with momentum. They want games. They want highlights. They want a season. So when the narrative shifts from players demanding equity to players risking the season, the moral high ground erodes fast. Media plays its role too, whether intentionally or not. Every segment asking, is the union overplaying its hand, chips away at legitimacy. Every article speculating about lost revenue or scheduling chaos nudges blame in one direction. And here's the cruel irony: the more disciplined the players are in staying quiet, the easier it is for others to speak for them. Silence becomes absence. Absence becomes guilt. Meanwhile, ownership never has to say they're applying pressure, they just let the optics do the work. Empty calendar slots. Arenas booking concerts. Broadcasters hedging language. All of it signals instability, and instability always gets pinned on labor. By the time the union responds, the frame is already set. At that point, they're not arguing for a better deal, they're defending themselves against accusations of greed and recklessness. That's how narrative warfare works. You don't win by being right. You win